On today's show, there has never been a better time in recent years to be a Washington Wizards fan. So it's time to talk with somebody that has been here since the beginning, that has gone through the mud and still delivered content to his wonderful page. Andrew Fenichel joins us here on Locked On Wizards.
What's up?
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Justin Champagny, and you're listening to Locked On Wizards podcast.
DC family, you're locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. My name is Ben Strober, and I'm a credentialed media member covering the Washington Wizards alongside my good friend, the DC sports content creating savant, Abdullah Ayubi. We're your Washington Wizards coverage 5 days a week. And joining us today, Andrew Fenichel on YouTube, a content creator. He does a ton of NBA, does a ton of Wizards, despite being as big as he is, got over 200K on YouTube, but you can check out his page for a ton of NBA-related content. Talks a lot about the playoffs, historical NBA data, NFL stuff as well. Andrew, we appreciate you making some time for us. How exciting is it that we get to have so many positive conversations here about the Wizards? It's been a while.
I mean, at the top of the show, you said most exciting time to be a Wizards fan. I don't know. The Sadaransky years were pretty fun to me, but
it's a good time.
Obviously a joke. No, this is awesome, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on. And yeah, dude, I'm a Wizards fan through and through. I've been through the mud, so it's awesome to be where we're at right now.
Andrew, take me back to Sunday when you knew that the Wizards were going to be in the top four. Just your overall reaction to when you found out that Utah was getting the second pick.
Well, they made us wait in the longest television commercial in TV history. I don't know what you guys felt. I was sitting there at what felt like 3 minutes waiting for this. I got the same commercial like 3 different times. I was like,
I think we were just happy to be in that commercial break without knowing our pick, right? That's how I looked at it.
Oh, for sure. If you make it to the commercial break, then you got to be happy in this year's draft. But yeah, man, I was here. I wrapped up some Mother's Day activities, and shout out to my wonderful mom for letting me escape early to do some lottery stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel real. I didn't even like pretend to imagine us getting the first pick. So once it was like, okay, 4, 3, 2, what? I didn't even really know what was going on.
When it comes down to this type of stuff, obviously you said how unexpected it was for this to happen. But just in terms of a fan perspective in the DC area and everything in between, what does getting the first overall pick do for this fan base? Like, how much more engagement have you seen with Wizards-related content just for people that are buying back into this team finally?
It's everywhere, both on like a macro national level. You know, the talk shows are talking about us again, and you know, some of our more like famous fans, if you want to call them that, are jumping back on the bandwagon. And then even, yeah, like you said, for myself, my fans care about when I talk about the Wizards now. Before it was a struggle, right? I think they happily listen to me sort of rant about my favorite team, but now it's the number one story outside of, you know, the 8 remaining teams in the playoffs.
Andrew, talk to me about the top 4 guys in this draft. The consensus is that Dybantsa is that pick at number 1, but how high are you on Darryn Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and Caleb Wilson?
Yeah, so I'll go ISO here for a minute. Basically, the way my big board stacks up right now is AJ 1, Caleb Wilson 2, Darryn Peterson 3, Cam Boozer 4. That being said, for the Wizards, that would not be my big board. And I know like drafting for fit is usually not the move, but I think when you have 4 guys who, to me, are all in basically the same tier, that is when there's some differentiators based on the team you've built. And so when I look at the Wizards, I would have Cam Boozer ranked higher than Caleb Wilson for us, because I'm imagining a Cam Boozer, Alex Sarr frontcourt, and it's like, you know, Tony Stark up in his penthouse with Jarvis building the perfect NBA frontcourt in a lab. Like, Boozer's IQ and his strength and his, you know, passing ability and shooting ability, like everything combined with Sarr's weak side shot blocking and his athleticism and all the stuff, like they're just a perfect combination. So that kind of makes me salivate a little bit. But also when I look at the Wizards roster, I think the thing we're missing is the go-to scorer. It's the guy who's going to average 30 in an NBA Finals. It's the guy who you're kind of putting the ball in their hands. down 2 with 10 seconds left. I think the Wizards right now have a lot of really good number 2 or number 3 options, even down to Trae Young and AD. Both of those guys, ideally, on a championship team, feel like number 2s to me, as they have been, specifically AD. So because of that, that's why I think AJ and Darryn have to be 1 and 2 on the Wizards board. And then deciding between them, I don't really care about the Darryn strange medical stuff, his season at Kansas. Assuming the Wizards team doctors check it all out and it all looks fine. To me, he just didn't care about college basketball. And I that's fine, right? Like we've seen that before. I don't know. I'm just not really worried about that. To me, the reason I have AJ 1 over Darryn actually is his length and his athleticism. And it's all of the other ways he can be elite in the NBA. Like to me, Darryn almost has the higher floor because he's going to be a 40% 3-point guy from like year 2. But AJ's ability to get to any spot on the floor, win in different ways. It's the footwork. It's the 3-point shooting. It's he has a back to the basket game already at his age. Like AJ's ability to be an elite player can go so many different paths as that number 1 option combined with the freaky athleticism. And that's why he's my number 1.
So some of the film that I watched today, I sat down and watched the BYU-Arizona game, which I believe AJ ended up scoring 35, and I got through the first half of it before I had to go into work today. But one thing I noticed on multiple occasions he did is he matched up with Braden Burry, like a solid 6'4" guard, 220 pounds, I think is what he weighed in the combine, so technically more than AJ Dybantsa. He was still able to kind of muscle his way in the high post, get to his spot around the free throw line and elevate, and just the apex on his jump shot when he shoots it from the very top there in the 42-inch vertical. When you saw some of the numbers that he posted at the combine, including that 42-inch vertical that I just alluded to right there, does that get you even more excited about AJ? Did anything from this combine kind of sway your opinion one way or the other for any of these prospects?
Not really. I'm not a big NBA draft combine guy, if I got to admit. Maybe for some of the lower tier guys like Cameron Carr. Again, like I don't think Cameron Carr's in the running for number 1. Got to ask Will Dawkins, but that's my assumption. Some of those guys, I think it matters, but for me, like no. Deciding between Darryn versus AJ based on a standing vertical, like I just don't really care.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Andrew if this whole creatine saga wasn't a thing. If Darryn Peterson played as many games as AJ Dybantsa, is there an argument for Darryn Peterson being the number 1 overall pick, or were you always team AJ from the get-go?
I think I switched my order of the top 4 20 different times throughout the college basketball season. Obviously, Darryn has a case. You watch the BYU Kansas game and you think Darryn is the next Kobe Bryant in that first half. So yeah, he has a case. But again, what it comes down to me is like, I just want positional size. I think that is the single most valuable trait in the NBA these days. And Darren's kind of like an average guard, whether he wants to be a 1 or a 2. Again, there's no positions really anymore. But like AJ is what, 6'9.5"? Was that his official measurement?
Mm-hmm.
As a 3, like you just don't find those guys. That's why he has so many outlets to be elite. If he has a bad 3-point shooting night, I'm not worried.
So one thing I wanted to bring up with positional flexibility, which seems to be something that's right up your alley, your forte of what you're looking for in terms of roster construction for this Wizards team. When it comes to next season, if AJ Dybantsa is the selection, when you have guys like Kyshawn George as well, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Anthony Davis, who you hope to see on the floor as well, you have one of the longest lineups, it seems like, in the league, outside of Trae Young, of course, who'd be the one small guy in the lineup. Where do you see things kind of shaping up positionally based on lineups you might see? Like, could we see AJ play the 3 with actually George playing the 2? Is Bilal still going to start if they draft AJ? Like, how do you see that shaping up?
It's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about it, but off the top of my head, I think the starting lineup would be Trae, Bilal at the 2, just for the defense. We see a lot of these teams, Atlanta with Dyson Daniels and teams like that sort of play these defensive 2s and then have them be like sort of the first sub. So I think Bilal would be at the 2. And then I would have AJ at the 3, Sarr and AD. I think I love Kyshawn sort of as like the second team point guard. Bub Carrington, we all love him. I'm not as high on Bub for a few different reasons, as I think we all sort of saw in year 2. So I kind of like Kyshawn then running the bench unit, but then closing games instead of Bilal. Yeah, dude, I like Will Riley handling the ball. I think AJ could handle the ball in some instances, and he could be an early pull. I think that's what's exciting. Like our wings aren't really wings outside of, I would say, Bilal. All of them can handle, and all of them can score.
A little bit more on the NBA draft and what the Wizards might end up doing. We'll do all that next here on Locked On Wizards. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot brings the nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeinated kick. It's a quick and easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. The one thing I like about the Fruity Rainbow Energy Shot is that it's zero sugar and it's sweet tooth approved. I like how convenient this is as well. It's a small portable shot. I can put it right in my bag and I can use it whenever I need. It's just a little pick-me-up and it's become my go-to when I want something sweet without having to go overboard on it. So get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. That's the number 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Your outdoor space should feel like you. It's one of those spots you keep meaning to fix up but never quite got around to it. That's where Wayfair comes in, and they make it easy to find pieces that match the vibe that you have always wanted. One thing I like about Wayfair, it's easy to filter by style and budget, so you can find exactly what fits your space. They have everything in one place: seating, decor, lighting, even outdoor rugs, and now with thousands of verified reviews, you can feel confident in what you're getting. Now the space actually feels put together, somewhere you want to sit, relax, and spend time. That's all possible through Wayfair. So get prepped for patio season for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Andrew, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the idea of Wizards trading down with Utah Jazz to, because the Jazz, there's a whole connection with AJ Dybantsa and the state of Utah. What would that initial offer be? Obviously draft capital, but if you're looking at a player, is it Ace Bailey?
I think it has to be. I'm sort of neutral on Ace. I think he's a good player, but like if Will Dawkins and Michael Winger have AJ as like a tier above Darryn, well then no, there's honestly no offer that can move me off of the tier one guy in the draft. But again, if they have Cam Boozer and AJ and all these guys in the same tier, well then yeah, let's talk, right? And I think where it would start for me is it'd probably be 2 Ace and like I think they own that Suns 2031 first, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, like a high upside first. That's, I think, where I would start with the conversations.
Is Cam Boozer not getting enough credit and recognition in these number one pick conversations? Because this dude was the National Player of the Year, just produced throughout the entirety of the season, and he's done so at every level. Is he not getting enough love in these conversations for you?
It's so easy to hate on Cam. And I have some of the same concerns these other people have, right? With the athleticism and the ceiling. I like Cam. Again, I have all these guys in the same tier, but for all the reasons the Cam FC guys like bring up for Boozer, like, oh, super productive as a freshman. So was Caleb Wilson. He averaged 20 and 10 with, 3, whatever, right? So was AJ. So was Darryn when he was on the court. Like, so honestly, no, I think Cam is rightfully so in that third and fourth area. Again, just given that at the end of the day, like ISO scoring is the most valuable trait in basketball. That's the guys who get paid, it's the guys who sell tickets, and that's what the two teams at the top need.
Andrew, the speculation for next season and Anthony Davis' future in DC just seems like it's up in the air. How do you see AD fitting with his team now that they have potentially AJ Dybantsa on this roster?
Besides like prank shows, or are you talking about basketball?
Yeah, pure basketball.
Because I don't know these days. I don't know what AD's up to. Yeah, I mean, how does he fit in on the basketball court? He fits in great, right? I think there's
if he's playing, right?
If he's playing, yeah. I mean, there's obviously a reason, and I like the trade because we gave up essentially the 30th pick in the draft and Marvin Bagley, who was a nice player, but you know what I mean. So there's obvious, yeah, on the court, I have no questions. Even if he plays 50 games, great. Like that sounds good to me. it all just comes down to if Anthony himself wants to be in DC and he's bought in. So
The way I view next season, Andrew, is all about evaluation because we really haven't been able to evaluate this team based on how well they can win games, and that includes this young core of players that we've all fallen in love with, of course, but maybe when the expectation is to really go out there and win, we'll have some different thoughts about some of these players. Who are you putting under the microscope the most here in this upcoming season out of these young guys?
Man, yeah, I mean, like you said, it could be every single player. I think Bilal, given that he's extension eligible, and what are we going to pay him, kind of is like an immediate priority for this front office. Definitely him. Then it kind of comes down to like, do we extend AD and Trae or not now? If we don't, well then, yeah, both of them got to prove they're worth $40 million a year. If we extend one of them, we're kind of bought in. If not, then so them in that sense. But then I would say Will, because he is so talented, and we all loved what we saw from him second half of the season, but those games just did not matter at all. I think we've seen Kyshawn in important games, like even the Mavs game to start the year last year, perform. We've seen Trey Johnson, but Will, it's like preseason out there for him, right? So I want to see him in more high leverage moments.
Yeah, 100%. I think Will Riley is going to be really, really special. Andrew, what are your expectations when it comes to wins? Do you think playing for this Wizard squad is feasible next year?
Oh, brother. Yeah. Are you like?
It's the floor, right?
I would be pretty disappointed if we missed the play-in next year. If we got the 11, I mean, yeah, like I think, and that's not pushing the envelope. That's not accelerating the rebuild. That's just like the East isn't that good. And I think we have a ton of talent. This is easily the most talented team Trae Young has ever been a part of, including the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals roster. It's not even close, right? So yeah, like why can't we take the Toronto jump from this year and get to like the 5th seed?
So my question actually brings up a lot of these Eastern Conference teams. I know we haven't had the offseason yet. There might be a Giannis trade. There could be a bunch of other things that happen this offseason. But just on paper right now, based on what other teams in the Eastern Conference have and what the Wizards have, how many teams realistically can you see them jumping next season? Like what teams stand out as like, oh yeah, like the Wizards can definitely be better than them, or they can't be better than these guys?
Yeah, it's so tough. You got to think the Celtics are going to win more games. You got to think the Pistons probably, but I don't know, right? Like Pistons could fall off a little bit. Knicks for sure, and if the Cavs don't do some crazy shakeup with Mitchell, then they're probably up there too. So that's 4. After that, I think anybody else is on the table.
Do you see Indiana bouncing back?
Yes, but like I guess you got to throw Indiana in there too. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Indiana.
That's what I'm saying. I just think when you said this is a very talented squad, can they figure out how to win together? You have all the talent. Everything looks good on paper, but can you go out there on the court 5v5 and win more than 40-plus games? We'll just have to see. It starts with defense, Andrew. And I want to ask you about Alex Sarr, really elite rim protector. What are your expectations for the French kid in year 3?
I can't really tell you because it sort of depends on Davis. Right. If Davis is going to be the more featured big offensively, then there's just no chance Sarr can average 20, right? Just purely based on volume and touches, even if he has that talent. If Davis plays 20 games or is gone by, October 1st, then I think Alex should average 20, right? I think he showed an incredible improvement this year. The physicality was up. The aggressiveness was up, the mid-range scoring. He took, less threes, which I think he can get back to higher 3-point volume. But point is like, yeah, I would say like he should be a top 40 player in the NBA.
I think it's actually a pretty safe bet, I would say, just based on rim protection alone. I think Sarr has such a bad rep around the league just because of the situation the Wizards were in, and I think he really didn't benefit from what the Wizards were obviously doing in the latter part of the season, and people think he's like a terrible defender now because of a Bam 83-point game that he only played 18 minutes in. and then a couple of other games where you have guys, Anthony Gill playing the 5 for you, so the other team center is dominating. So like this narrative around Sarr, I think, has gotten really weird at this point. But just from a defensive standpoint and his rim protection, what ways do you think you could see him improve defensively from more than just defending the rim, which he did at a really elite level this year, I'd say?
I would just say it's a few like IQ things, pick and roll coverage, continuing to get better, stuff like that, and then just strength. Like Embiid, I feel like anytime I watch the Sixers play Sarr, like Embiid kind of bullies him, right? Who else? I think Jared Allen had a big game against him this year, if I remember correctly. Guys like that. The clinging game was interesting because those two guys were just going at it. But Clingan's a strong dude. So for Sarr, and that's why maybe the argument is to take a Cam Boozer, sort of back to my original Tony Stark fit take, because Boozer's the strong, smaller guy, and then you have Sarr as like the weak side shot blocker, sort of like roaming defensively. Maybe that's his best role. But just strength. Get him some creatine, honestly.
When the NBA playoffs come around, that's a really good bit, actually. When the NBA playoffs come around, everybody likes to talk about dudes who are playoff risers. Do the Wizards have any of those guys? We get the answer to that next here on Locked On Wizards. The playoffs are here, and it's the most electric time in basketball. On Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, the championship. If you go to Kalshi, you can now see that San Antonio is trading at a 78% probability to win the series over Minnesota. Another great Victor Wembanyama performance coming off of suspension. So $100 trade would pay out $129 if San Antonio wins the series and sets up this gauntlet-like Western Conference Final series against the OKC Thunder, who are trading at over 65% right now to win the entire title. So on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, the probability will change as you buy in, as you buy out. So that's what makes this thing so much different than going on other sports books. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade KALSHI Kalshi. Trade on anything 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract. Trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. We're also brought to you today by Rocket Money. If you ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills, it can get overwhelming fast. And considering I'm thinking about moving out of my parents' house for the first time, it's definitely an overwhelming time. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. Rocket Money helps you track all of your subscriptions in one spot. It can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can see where all your money is actually going. You can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of your upcoming bills. This makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clear picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That is rocketmoney.com/lockedon to learn more.
Andrew, when it comes to playoff risers on this squad, who do you think sticks out the most?
Hopefully we'll find out. But I mean,
it's a tough question. Sorry about that.
Right. Like I don't really know. Trae and AD have obviously had their moments in the playoffs. So I would throw both of them in there. I guess I'll just use this as an opportunity to hype up Kyshawn George because I'm just such a big Kyshawn guy. And I do think
this is the correct answer. This is the correct answer, but go on.
3 ball knowers on this podcast. So because Kyshawn, I think playoff risers, I actually just posted a video about this yesterday. To me, it's almost like less about how good you are, but how good is your biggest weakness? What can teams in the playoffs not target on either side of the ball? And that's sort of what helps guys rise. Are you a black hole on offense? Are you targetable on defense? Then you're probably not going to be a riser, right? And with Kyshawn, I don't really see a ton of weaknesses. Obviously, we know how good of a defensive player he is and how switchable and versatile he is. Offensively, he can shoot. I think the handle needs to get a little bit better for him, but he's big. So I'll throw Kyshawn in the mix.
I just want to talk more about Kyshawn because I think now that there's this perception that if AJ is the guy falls into place Trey Johnson would start at the 2. I'm just not so sure about that. I have a really hard time believing that Kyshawn George doesn't start for this team next year because we know they like positional flexibility. And I think because you have Trae Young in your starting lineup, like you're going to have that deficiency there defensively. So having a guy like Kyshawn on the floor, I think makes up for that. Do you see George as a starter on this team, even if the selection is Dybantsa? And how would you feel about him coming off the bench as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bilal starts. At least that's my prediction. If anything, because Kyshawn should want to just like own the bench unit for now, right? I think, and again, then I envision Kyshawn being part of the closing unit instead of Bilal. So it's sort of one of those. Yeah, I mean, Kyshawn should get touches. You know, the worst parts of the season last year, I felt like as a fan, we're watching the games where Kyshawn wasn't involved in the offense. He's so talented. And sometimes he's a little passive to me, but yeah, I see him coming off the bench at least to start, but long term, I definitely think he's a starter.
Andrew, what do you think of head coach Brian Keefe? How long is that leash for him next season? Because I've been preaching on this podcast that if next year you're 15 to 20 games below 500 before the All-Star break, I think you need to pull the plug.
Yeah, I kind of wanted him to go this offseason, if I'm being honest. You know, like, and then, the next question is like, well, who should we have hired, right? And like Taylor Jenkins, I think could have been interesting given his player development history. But I don't know, right? Like, if anything, just for continuity, I'm okay bringing him back. Like you said, though, like it's go time. I want to make the playoffs, right? I want to make the play-in and win that play-in tournament and go head-to-head with Detroit for 7 games. So I don't know. Again, like he hasn't really done anything to impress me, even given the 3-8 offsuit he's been dealt. So it's like hard to analyze him really as a coach, but I don't know. Yeah, like you said, this is it. This is his year.
Andrew, have you ever done this is the most underrated player in the NBA video? And if you did, why was it Justin Champagnie?
Best pound for pound rebounder in the NBA. Maybe that's the next video.
Yeah, I'm a big JC guy, Andrew. I'm hoping that next year he gets more recognition because he's going to be playing meaningful basketball. And going back to Brian Keefe, Andrew, I think now there isn't a cloud over you as a coach that you don't have to win too many games. You have to go out there and make sure that there's meaningful development, but also making sure that you're competitive, especially in the Eastern Conference where there shouldn't be any excuses for you not to make the play-in at the bare minimum.
100%. I think he's better than Wes. You can start there.
It's not saying much.
Not at all.
But that's where we are. Just to go back to Champagnie, like, Andrew, what's your familiarity with like using spreadsheet data? Are you a spreadsheet guy? Or are you just more of an eye test guy? Like, where do you stand on that? I just wanted to ask this first off.
Hey man, I minored in data science in college, so I got a little spreadsheet in me. I can play that game. Okay,
so when we go like spreadsheet data wise on the Wizards, it's been pretty clear that Champagnie has been their most impactful player. So with you seeing him get these DNPs last year, barely being a feature in the rotation, like it has to be just because they were not trying to win games, right? Like, are we going to see this dude play a ton more because of this value they're probably going to have on this type of spreadsheet data? Like, does that match your eye test with the guy?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's not the same player as his brother, but there's some similarities for obvious reasons. And you see how valuable Julian is for the Spurs right now. Yeah, Justin's smart. He shoots. He plays defense. Like, absolutely. And there's a reason they gave him, the 3-year, $9 million deal? Someone fact checked me on the numbers there, but like...
Yeah, it was like 4 and 10, I think.
Really friendly.
Steal, right? I mean, like, he should renegotiate that deal if he can. But, yeah, like there's a reason we locked him in long term. The front office and the coaching staff likes Justin. I'm not worried about the DNPs.
Andrew, just quickly before we end it off, what are your thoughts on the NBA playoffs so far, and who do you think is going to win it all?
Yeah, well, my original prediction was Celtics over Nuggets, so that didn't really turn out great. But the real NBA Finals is the Western Conference Finals, and that's no shade to the Knicks or the Cavs. I in my second chance bracket, I had Thunder over Cavs, and I think I'll stick with that.
So you're not out on James Harden like I am?
Well, I think the good news with Harden is that he can kind of mail it in a game 7 now, and they can still win, right? Like, he was not good in that game 7 against Toronto. He kind of just sleepwalked through that game. I think he had 10 points.
Yeah.
He didn't turn the ball over. Like, he kind of just played. He was their third best player, and maybe that's the best role for him in a game 7. So no, I'm back in.
I feel like Game 6 has always been his worst enemy. There's Game 6 elimination games where they need him to step up and win, like the times when he was in Houston. I feel like those were always his worst games, and they would get eliminated, and that's why the narrative is so strong with the guy. But I don't know. If things don't work out in Cleveland, and I know like we said that was the last one, but if things don't work out in Cleveland, could you see them breaking that whole thing up, like and kind of just rebooting a little bit? Because I think they've tried this core here with Mitchell and some of the other guys, Mobley as well, and it just hasn't really led to much outside of a second-round appearance.
If you're the Cavs, do you take – if Mitchell asks out, do you take the 6th pick straight up? I mean, maybe the contracts need to match up, but, like, is there a 6th pick trade there?
If you want to get, like, Acuff or Wagler there instead, like, maybe that's an option for him.
And if you're the Nets, like – you need something to sell this franchise. You need something to sell this city, right? What do they get? Maybe they don't like anyone at 6. And we know Mitchell wants to be in New York. At least he was.
That's actually a good point. I feel like the Nets might just say screw it because they just haven't had any of the luck in the lottery. They're just like, screw it.
Right.
Like, let's just trade for the star player. Let's go get Donovan Mitchell. Do you think the Wizards would have gone that route if they fell to 5 and just eventually traded for a superstar player? Like, what would I guess we'll never know, which is the great thing about this. But do you think they would have done something like that if they fell to 5?
Yeah, thank God we don't have to have that conversation on the pod today. No, I think we would have kept the pick. Or maybe trade down. I don't know. I don't really want to think about it.
It's a great thing to be grateful about, that we're not debating between Darius Acuff or Kean Wagler in Washington.
Right. Love a Daymara, but he'll have a good career somewhere else.
I mean, there's people that comment in this podcast that we should just trade back now and get a Daymara, and that's a real thing that somebody comments all the time. But I respect their opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I don't agree with all of them, but that is where we're at. Andrew, let everyone know where they can find all of the impressive work that you are doing right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. This was long overdue. Go Wizards. You can find me on any social media platform. My YouTube channel is kind of my bread and butter. That's just my name, Andrew Fenichel, and yeah, baby, can't wait for June 23rd.
Let's go. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's your strongest intuition right now? Is AJ probably going to be their guy? What do you think?
It's AJ.
Yeah.
All right, good to hear. Good to hear. That'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Wizards. We want to thank our guy, Andrew Fenichel, for joining us today. As he mentioned, be sure to go check him out on all his social media, on YouTube as well, doing great things in a various different sport content as well all the time. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure to check out the Locked On Everydayer Club if you want access to Locked On Wizards for ad-free content. Members only Discord access with a BNI. Go to lockedonwizards.supercast.com to find out more. That'll do it for now. For Andrew Fenichel, our guest, that's Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober, DC family. Have a good night.